Well, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're located. Thank you so much for joining us for our session today on creating a better sustainable world together. I'm Heather Sullivan, National Sales Manager for New Business. During today's presentation, we'll share HP's vision to be the world's most sustainable and just technology company in partnership with like-minded companies such as yours. We encourage you to interact throughout our session. Please feel free to put questions in the chat during the session, and we'll have time for a live Q&A towards the end. Without further ado, let me introduce you to today's speakers for our session. Ellen Chakowski is HP's Chief Sustainability and Social Impact Officer, and will share HP's commitment to create positive, lasting change for our planet, its people, and our communities. And Ryan Kensler, Head of Sustainable Impact for America's Market, will speak on how HP transforms our entire business to drive a more efficient, circular, and low carbon economy. We are so excited that you're able to join us today, so thank you so much for being here. And now we'll hear from Ellen.
Easy doesn't do it. Easy doesn't solve our most pressing problems or push us forward. And easy isn't going to get us on the other side of the global climate crisis. Because choosing easy over right and saying yes to what's comfortable or convenient is what got us here in the first place. If history has taught us anything, it's that making claims is one thing, making change is another. Which is why, for over 80 years, HP has continued to put in the work and deliver on promises no matter how ambitious or bold, no matter how hard. Since our earliest days in a garage, making change has made us who we are. Like when we built a groundbreaking recycling supply chain that has already kept over 60 million plastic bottles out of the ocean. Or when we launched our Sustainable Forest Collaborative to help protect, restore, and manage hundreds of thousands of acres of forest around the world. Like when we switched to 100% renewable energy supply in the US as of 2018. Or when we created the world's most sustainable PC portfolio. These are just a few of the reasons we were named America's Most Responsible Company of 2020 by Newsweek. And that was just the beginning. Because right now, our planet depends on all of us to make real, lasting change. Empty claims and easy solutions created the climate crisis. Doing what's hard, what's responsible, what's right is how we'll solve it.
Thank you so much, Heather and Kirsten, for organizing this important day. I know we have so many incredible sustainability professionals from a wide range of industries on the call today, from manufacturing and energy to retail and hospitality. So whether you're from DuPont or Xylem, Zoetis, Medtronic, Sempra, or Wyndham, we are all working in this field because we want to make the world a better place. So today, what I'm going to talk to you about is, what we're doing at HP, our sustainable impact strategy, and hopefully share some insights that'll be helpful to all of you as you go forth as well in terms of creating sustainability for your organization. So I want to start with our vision. Our CEO, Enrique Lores, earlier this year set a new vision around sustainable impact for our company. And we intend to become the world's most sustainable and just technology company. Now, if you think about that statement, it's a comparative statement, and that's on purpose. We need to constantly raise the bar on ourselves and others within our industry. So while one day we may be the most, it means that tomorrow we're going to have to raise the bar because the momentum is going to continue to move forward in this space. So that's our vision. It's bold, it's ambitious, and we have a lot on our plate in front of us. In terms of where we're focusing, there are 3 specific areas. And this is really kind of the vision that we see for how this this manifests at HP. It's really a new era of opportunity where climate change is reversed and human rights are universally protected, and digital equity democratizes opportunity for all. And those three areas are really important to us. We'll talk a little bit more about each of those in just a moment. But really, in terms of our sustainability approach, it starts with a strong legacy of leadership. We are the only company in the technology industry to receive a CDP AAA ranking across climate, forests, and water, and also be on their supplier leaderboard. For 2 years in a row, Newsweek has ranked HP the #1 most responsible company in America. And you can see all sorts of other, great recognition that we've earned here. And this comes from decades of work in this space. But we know, again, that bar needs to continue to raise. For us to stay at the top of these ratings and rankings and to really lead the way and to combat climate change, to advance human rights, to create digital equity, again, we're raising that bar. We also recognize that this is a business imperative. And we're seeing our market shift. The fact that all of you wanted to gather in a Zoom room today to even have this discussion points to this shift among our customers. We've seen in the last year, in 2020, over $1 billion in new sales where sustainability was a known consideration in terms of purchasing decisions of HP products and services. We also see our employees caring more than ever. It's more important in terms of recruitment, as well as retaining employees, as well as our investors, our channel partners, all across our value chain. Sustainability is becoming a much more important issue. It truly is a business imperative for us, and we intend to continue to stay at the top. So let's dig into that strategy. Our original foundation was based on 3 pillars: planet, people, and community. And now with this new 2030 vision, we're really focusing in. So on planet, we're focused on climate action, and that segments into 3 particular areas: carbon emissions, so reducing our carbon footprint, which we all know we need to do, the science is clear, driving circularity towards, a true circular economy, as well as for HP, forests. We make printers. Paper is incredibly important to us and our customers who use it all the time and push it through those printers. So HP has an inextricable relationship with forests, and it certainly is incredibly material to our strategy around climate action. And human rights, 3 focus areas as well, creating a culture of inclusion and belonging, social justice, racial and gender equity, as well as empowering workers, not just in our operations, but across our supply chain. And then finally, our community pillar is focused on digital equity. Digital divide being the big problem, and we've certainly seen that divide become even wider during the pandemic. But through our focus on education, our emerging focus on healthcare, and how both of those can create economic opportunity for all, that is what makes up our digital equity pillar. So first, we're going to do a deep dive into climate action. What actually are we trying to do here in those 3 areas that I mentioned? But first is the vision for climate action. Our vision is to drive toward a net zero, fully regenerative economy while engineering the industry's most sustainable portfolio of products and solutions. And this last year, we were able to announce that we do in fact we can legally substantiate, HP offers the world's most sustainable portfolio of PC products in the world. And that vision, that achievement that we were able to make within our personal systems portfolio now needs to emanate across our entire portfolio, including print, 3D printing, gaming, all of the different products and solutions that we offer. So we've set some bold goals in this space. So we're going to talk about that first segment initially, carbon emissions. Again, the science is clear. We know that science says by 2050, the world needs to be net zero in greenhouse gas emissions. And the science also says we need a 50% reduction by 2030. So we've created a map of goals that meet that science, if not beat it. And the work begins in our own house first, taking care of our own operations. So by 2025, we've committed to being carbon neutral in our operations. Then the next stair step, by 2030, to reduce the absolute value chain emissions by 50%. Now, again, that aligns with the science. But the other word that's in that goal that I think is really important and is also going to be really hard work is absolute reduction. So not through offsets, through truly reducing the emissions of our company and our value chain. And then, of course, by 2040, the ultimate goal to be net zero across the full value chain. That's a decade earlier than the science requires. So we've made some very big, bold, aggressive moves, and parts of our business are going to be going first. For example, our supplies business aims to be carbon neutral by 2030, as well as customer support. So the next segment that we're going to talk about is circularity. And here as well, we have that stair step of goals. We're starting again in our own house by 2025 to create zero waste in our operations. And then the really tough goal by 2030 to have 75% product and packaging circularity by weight. And what we mean there is 75% of the materials in our product and packaging are either reused, recycled, or renewable by weight over the total product and packaging weight. Today, we're at about 41%. And I think some of you may be familiar, to get to those higher percentages, that is going to be extremely tough. So 75% is a big deal. That's going to be a lot of innovation going on, moving away from virgin materials to recycled content, enabling more reuse, second life for our products, moving away from transactional business models to service-based business models that enable that product longevity. So our third area of focus in climate action is forests. Again, of course, forests being so important to HP and continuing to regenerate and restore forests that equal to the amount of paper that our customers are using. We already have zero deforestation for HP brand paper and packaging. So if you go out and buy, a pack of HP paper, it has the logo on it, you can be assured that zero deforestation happens. We source from either FSC or recycled sources that do not contribute to any zero deforestation for our own brands. But the ambitious goal that we've set is by 2030 to counteract deforestation for non-HP paper used in our products and services. And that's the key, the non-HP paper. We're going beyond our own footprint to take care of all of those other brands. And we know our customers typically use about 1% HP branded paper, 99% other brands. So this is a significant commitment, but it's part of how we aim to tackle our climate crisis and go beyond our own responsibility and help change the whole industry. This isn't just about, again, creating sustainable impact for our own company, but for our customers, with our customers, and the communities that we serve. So moving on from the three pillars, how are we actually going to achieve this? We're going to achieve our climate action goals through 5 key levers. The first is accelerating print and compute as a service. Again, moving away from those transactional business models, selling computers, selling printers, to now selling printing and compute versus computers. So that's a key piece. The second is transitioning to sustainable materials. Again, moving away from virgin to recycled content and renewable materials, both on the plastic side as well as metals, two of the biggest materials that we use to create our products. And then while we're doing that, this third step, which is a big heavy lift, decarbonizing our supply chain. We have one of the biggest supply chains in the industry, $50 billion. It's significant. And for us to hit those goals, the absolute reductions of 50% by 2030 and net zero by 2040, that means we are going to have to completely change our relationship with our suppliers and help them transition to the use of renewable electricity, help them adopt new methods of transportation, moving away from air to alternative fuels and electric vehicles, more land and ocean transport. And then third, designing for energy efficiency. We know about a third of our footprint is due to all of our customers plugging in the printers and PCs that we sell. So we need to design more energy efficient products. And that's exactly what we're doing. That's going to take down a third of our footprint. And then finally, investing in forests. So we're already doing this. We have some really important projects with World Wildlife Fund in China and Brazil, and we're going to continue to expand our investment in forests, again, to take care of those non-HP brands of paper going beyond our footprint. So those are the 5 key levers of climate action. That's how we're going to do it. A lot of heavy lifting ahead of us. So now let's go to the second pillar, human rights. for human rights, our vision here is to create a powerful culture of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and advance human rights and social justice, as well as racial and gender equality across our ecosystem. And the words that are important there, across our ecosystem. It's just like what we're trying to do in climate action. Instead of taking a very narrow view, about our own company, our own operations, how can we be a beacon for others, not just within our industry, but across all, to encourage this type of vision and action moving forward. So just like you saw in climate action, here in human rights, we've got stair steps to help bridge. And let me just comment for 1 second on the stair step concept. You might have seen a lot of pushback in the media about companies setting big goals around sustainability, particularly net zero goals. And there have been some that have been accused of greenwashing because they're setting these goals without demonstrating they have a pathway. So I would encourage all of you as you're thinking about the goals you set for your company or that you would like to set, what is the pathway to get there, and making sure that you're demonstrating those stairs. It will give you kind of a sense of understanding, of a deeper understanding of what you need to achieve, as well as kind of drawing that pathway and being transparent about it for those within the company as well as outside. And we've seen a lot of great recognition to HP because we've presented it in this way. So something to think about as you're creating your own goals. Okay, so for empowered workers, the workers within our supply chain, by 2025, to develop skills and improve the well-being of 500,000 factory workers, as well as double the factory participation in our supply chain sustainability programs. But the big goal here is by 2030 to reach 1 million workers through our worker empowerment programs. When we look at goals from other leading companies in this space, like Levi's and Nike, they've set some big goals too. But the 1 million workers is pretty gigantic. So we're proud of the leadership and the ambition of that goal, and it's gonna again take a lot of lift. So moving on to the next section of human rights, driving a culture of inclusion and belonging. By 2025, to have greater than 99% completion rate of our integrity at HP training, that's foundational across the company for every employee. And then by 2030, to maintain a higher than 90% rating on internal inclusion for all employee demographics, as well as to be the universally ranked employer of choice for underrepresented groups in the tech industry. It's certainly been well documented, the challenges that tech has around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And again, we're aiming to lead in that space. So in terms of social justice, racial and gender equity, by 2025, we aim to double the number of Black and African-American executives in the US. We also aim to double the Black and African-American technical representation in our US employee base. By 2030, another big ambitious goal, to achieve 50-50 gender equality in HP leadership. No other Fortune 100 company has aimed to achieve gender equality like this. So again, we recognize how tough this is going to be, but we need to lead the way. The second goal there, achieve greater than 30% technical women and women in engineering. And when we look at that goal in particular and translate that down to the number of women who are enrolled right now in technical or engineering programs across the globe, that number is going to be tough to hit, the 30%, when you project these women are in school now and who's going to be graduating in time for us, to see our pipeline fill. So a lot of work to do, and we continue to partner with a lot of education and school systems to help encourage more women to enter the technical and engineering fields. So that's what's up in terms of human rights and what we're aiming to do there. So our final area of focus, digital equity, and again, closing that digital divide. The vision here is to lead in activating and innovating holistic solutions that break down the digital divide. And the two key words there are activating and innovating. For activating, that really is about taking our existing products like our PCs and our printers, some of the quality content that we've had like HP Turn to Learn, During the pandemic, we've partnered with groups like Scholastic and NASA, great, high quality content providers, to be able to print packets for kids who weren't connected to the internet, who could still study and learn from home using HP Turn to Learn. So activating is about taking our existing products, services, and solutions and deploying those to the most marginalized groups, but then also the innovating piece. And that's really about investing in R&D to increase the features in our products that serve these communities. So things like accessibility features in our products, or making sure that we have the right price points so that all areas of the economic spectrum can purchase from HP and connect to the internet, can study and learn from home using our devices. So that's the big vision. So as that breaks down across each of the areas around digital equity, first in education, a goal to, by 2025, enable better learning outcomes for 100 million people. And we're already halfway to that goal, which is great. By 2030, to accelerate digital equity for 150 million people. That's a big one. When we think about, again, who are we targeting? At the bottom of the slide here, you'll see the different audiences that we're focused on. Women and girls, people with disabilities, communities of color and marginalized groups, and educators and practitioners. And again, these are the communities that we know by the numbers are the most disconnected, are the most marginalized, and through the work that we intend to do by accelerating digital equity for those communities, those are the solutions that we aim to bring. In healthcare, an emerging space for HP. For us, it's incredibly important to focus on increasing access to healthcare for underserved populations and accelerate the production of critical supplies. We've certainly seen what we've been able to do during COVID, where through our 3D printing, we've been able to print so many parts, millions and millions of parts of face masks, face shields, door handles that are touchless, all sorts of innovations that have come across, and we're able to be manufactured and delivered thanks to the speed and the flexibility of 3D printing. So there's lots of opportunity for us to continue to increase access to healthcare, again, for those most in need. And then finally, economic opportunity. Our goal here to enroll 1 million HP Life users between 2016 and 2025. And if you at your companies need programs in terms of education and access or digital equity, looking up HP Life could be really helpful to you. You can just search on HP Life. You'll find the URL. It always is at the top of the search results. This is a program that offers free online education. It's available in 8 languages globally, over 30 courses. It's really targeted at entrepreneurs and students, long life learners. And we've seen such a huge uptick of this program, of people logging on to HP Life and taking the courses during the pandemic. So again, we're always happy to partner with other companies who are looking for programming. Again, it's free. It's available to anyone online, and again, translated in 8 languages. So feel free to take advantage of that and leverage that as part of your programming as well. So that's an overview of the strategy from the top, what we're aiming to do, how we're aiming to get to be the world's most sustainable and just technology company. But the key question is, where are we at today? How far do we need to go? And here you'll see on the right an image of our carbon footprint as it stands. So let's start with the inner circle, our operations. We get questions all the time, renewable energy, that is so important. Where are you at? Do you have solar panels on your roofs? Yes, in the United States, we're already 100% renewable energy. And we do have solar panels, at least at the office in Palo Alto where I work, and many other locations. But when you look at the percentage of this, it's only 1%. Not that significant. So good, we're doing it, but we have bigger fish to fry, and let's look up the chain. So next comes 35% of our footprint embedded in our products and solutions. And I already talked a little bit about, what happens when we sell all those PCs and printers and our customers are plugging them in. That's about 1/3 of our footprint. So driving energy efficiency is incredibly important to reduce that part. And then the top 64% in our supply chain. We've made some tremendous progress already at reducing the parts of our supply chain footprint, but a lot more work to do, partnering with our suppliers in very new and different ways than we ever have before. So we've also seen, some great progress in driving towards a circular economy. And, again, that's one of our big goals, that 75% circularity by 2030. And to do that, we've been reducing our single-use plastic packaging. We have a goal to reduce it by 75%. We're at 19% today. We set that goal last year. So already tremendous progress. We have 80% reduction in our plastic use per liter of ink with our HP Eco Carton ink cartridges for our large format printers. We're also using so much more recycled content across our entire product portfolio, including ocean-bound plastics, where we're recycling plastic bottles, hiring a team of collectors to pick those up. And we've incorporated those not just into our ink cartridges, not just into the notebook that I'm communicating to you with today, the HP Dragonfly, but it's now in over 50 of our products that are available globally. And that's a huge deal, right? Coming up with a concept, testing it, perhaps on one product like we did with our ink cartridges, and then scaling it, because that's the key to all of this. How are we scaling? And the numbers and our programs are showing that. And our ocean-bound plastic work is another great example of that. And then the final stat here, 93% of our printers are ENERGY STAR certified. We also have more EPEAT Gold and ENERGY STAR PCs than anyone else in the industry. So to the point of how important it is for our products to be energy efficient and to continue to raise the bar. We're after that. And right now we're leading the way, which is great. But again, raise that bar. So we're also seeing strong results throughout our supply chain in terms of our workers, the supplier factory workers who've participated in our programs, who are represented in this total supplier spend that have gone through social and environmental assessments. So we're thinking very holistically about our approach here and have seen some really strong results. And then on the education front, we've also seen, as I mentioned, some great increases in the participation in programs like HP Life, those that have benefited from our education programs since the beginning of 2015, over 50 million students and adult learners. So lots of strong progress again here, as well as more to do. And all this comes down to driving a local impact. HP is a large company. We operate in over 170 countries worldwide. So taking all of this action and what we're doing kind of out of the ivory tower and bringing it down to the places where our employees, as well as our customers in various locations, can feel it. And so really proud of what our employees are doing in terms of volunteering and employee giving, as well as the corporate match, of course, that we offer as well. So, there are also new tools that are available to all of us in the sustainability field to help accelerate the work that we're doing. And one of the things that we just announced earlier this month was our very first sustainable bond framework and an issuance of sustainability notes. These are financial tools that now exist for all of us to help accelerate that work. Our sustainable bonds are going to provide investments both for the environmental side as well as the social side. So again, we're trying to bring that holistic perspective of how you can't think about it in silos. The environment is connected, of course, to the people and the communities that inhabit it. So you can't affect one without affecting the other. So for us to find solutions that work, we need to think that holistically. And we've done that as well in these financial tools with the sustainable bond framework. Interesting, when we went out with this, we needed $1 billion in funding. That's what we were looking for. And we got 3x that. So I think our whole finance team, including our CFO, were, overwhelmingly thrilled and surprised to see the power of the sustainable bond framework that we launched. And I think you're going to see, more tools like that at use at companies like HP and around the world. So you should be looking into those too, if you haven't yet already. The other thing that we've been doing is, truly thinking about the culture shift we need to create within the company. The goals that I just presented to you for 2030 and that vision, that's going to take, again, a lot of hard work. And for us to get there, it's going to require all 55,000 of our employees. So what we did earlier this year was change our performance management system so that every single HP employee would be encouraged and could set their own sustainable impact goal that relates to their job role. For a couple years now, all of our executives, so our CEO and his direct reports, they've had their own management objectives that are tied to our actions on sustainable impact. But now all of their employees are incented to build sustainable impact into their performance management and be compensated on that as well. So something to think about if you haven't thought about, how to create that shift, that refocus within your own company. Because again, for the goals that we aim to achieve, the sustainability team certainly can't do it alone. And in general, HP can't do it alone. So we need customers like you pushing us, bringing us your innovative ideas in this space to help accelerate the work that we're doing. And I'm sure there's a lot of overlap between what we're aiming to do and your own sustainability goals. So looking forward to talking with all of you about that as well. So at this point, I'm going to need to hand it over to Ryan Kanzler, who's going to handle the Q&A. I would love to handle the Q&A and planned on delivering this presentation live, but I've been on a waiting list to have a minor procedure. So unfortunately, I couldn't be there live with you today. I'm going to aim to call in on the phone if the timing works out. So I may be on right now, I may not. But rather than reschedule, I wanted to record all of this for you the night before. So hopefully I'll be on during the Q&A, but I'm going to hand it over to Ryan, and as well, we'll be setting up some office hours. So if any of you have other specific questions for me directly or personally, we can set up time and follow on conversations. So thanks again to Heather and Kirsten for setting that up. So now over to you, Ryan, for Q&A.
Before Ryan jumps on, I do see that Ellen is here. If we have any live questions, maybe we take a moment to address them now before Ryan starts. So if anybody has a question they'd like to ask Ellen, please feel free to come off mute or to put something in the chat.
Yep, and I am here, so glad I could make it in for the Q&A portion. So hi, everybody.
Thank you, Ellen, so much, especially as you're balancing some things today in your personal life. We really appreciate you being here and also for putting that together for everyone. So folks, any questions, anything you'd like to ask Ellen as a follow-up? Okay, well, Ellen, unless you have any additional comments, I know we'll see if you'll be here at the end when we continue to do Q&A, but then maybe we'll turn it over to Ryan.
Nope, sounds good. And I know it's a lot of information. We've got a lot of goals, but hopefully it just inspired you to think about some new ambitions you can set for yourselves. So thanks so much.
Great, thank you. Ryan, over to you.
Thanks, Ellen. That was fantastic. Well, I'm really excited to be here with you as well this morning. My name is Ryan Kanzler. I'm the head of sustainability here within our North and Latin America markets. And going to take you through more of a deep dive as Ellen's painted a wonderful picture of where we're at as a company, our goals, our focus, and where we're headed. I'm going to take us into a look at our personal systems portfolio. Ellen had talked about how last year we were able to make the legal claim that we have the world's most sustainable PC portfolio. I'm going to take us through why that's the case and ways that you can, as you look at your roles and within your companies, hopefully bring the topics of sustainability around IT and specifically our personal systems into hopefully procurement and decision-making conversations in a way that really will bring the most sustainable products into your environments. So with that, as we look at the world's most sustainable PC portfolio, a lot of rigor went into being able to make that claim. I'm sure all of you have dealt and worked with legal in your respective companies, and to be able to put such a bold comment forward, there's much preparation and I guess you could say proving it all out internally in ways that would then be able to get the legal teams to jump on board with that particular claim. And as we did that this year, there was a lot that went into it, and I'm going to take us through that. And one of the things that really was one of the driving forces for us in that claim is our leadership with EPEAT and specifically with EPEAT Gold certified products. As of right now, we have over 151 products across our PC portfolio, and specifically in the commercial PC portfolios where that claim is, that are EPEAT Gold certified. And I'll spend a little bit more time for those of you unfamiliar with EPEAT later on, that will go into what does that mean and why is that important. But really, achieving a gold status, and you could be bronze, silver, or gold, it's not easily done, and it is a very inclusive look at all of the different factors that your products require, or that they require of our products, to be able to truly be seen as a sustainable product. Everything from reducing your packaging. Do you offer bulk packaging? How are you reducing your carbon footprint of that product? But also you as a brand, what are you doing with your own operations? You go through all of these different criteria, and that allows products to be seen as a gold product. And we have quite a bit of a leadership space in the amount of products that we have that are EPEAT Gold, not only just within the US, but also globally, which shows, our continued effort as a global brand. So I'm going to talk today about some of the thoughts that have gone into, not only hitting that EPEAT certification, but as we look at our personal systems portfolio, how do we really view what we can do to make a positive impact in those products? So I love this slide. As we really focus, as Ellen said, on putting our planet first, there's 3 different phases, if you will, of our products in personal systems that we focus on. We have what we're doing before you ever get a product. How do we ensure that it's sustainable during the use of that product? And then what are we doing to help ensure proper retirement of those products after you're done with them? So as we look at, before use, it's diving into the materials, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. How do we get that to you? What are the modes of transportation that are considered? How do we ensure that that footprint is as sustainable as it possibly could be? And then in the use phase, it's that EP piece, the energy efficiency of your devices. What materials are we ensuring are we pulling out of those products to ensure that you have the most safe and sustainable device possible? And then in retirement, how do we ensure that you've got the right options to recycle, redeploy, securely process in ways that then give, hopefully, products even when very life? And that's very much a part of our commercial PC portfolio, and I'll spend some time on that. So one of the things I want to start with is just one of the things that we've been the first to the market with is bringing ocean-bound plastics into our products. And specifically, it had started with our ink cartridges, and we've taken that process and that supply chain and now turned it into bringing ocean-bound plastics into our notebooks, desktops, and other products. Now, what does that mean? Well, an ocean-bound plastic for us is where we can prevent plastic from making its way into the oceans. Today, we don't have processes in place where we're helping pull plastics out of the ocean. While we continue to look at that in the broad spectrum of our planet and where we can make positive impacts, one area where we deemed we have an opportunity to have positive influence is preventing future plastics from making their way into the ocean. One such area and where we have really made big impact is in Haiti. While many of you hopefully are familiar with some of the impacts that have happened almost 10 years ago from the major earthquakes that happened in Haiti, still today, water and the availability of water throughout the island is impacted. And much of the drinking water that happens in the country comes through water bottles. Well, unfortunately, due to local processes not being as efficient as they can be, many of those water bottles were making their way into local rivers, and those rivers on an island obviously flow into the ocean. Well, as we identified that as an issue, we identified that there was a potential there to help provide opportunities to get that plastic out of those riverways and into our processes where we could extract that plastic from those water bottles and create a supply chain that would feed that PET plastic into our processes, allowing us to use that as recycled resin started, like I said, in ink cartridges, and it's made its way into our Elite Dragonfly, our Chromebook Enterprise, the Elite C1030, many other desktops and displays. And we continue to really push that envelope. And, we see that as an opportunity where we can innovate in ways that have social as well as environmental benefits. And we use that as a great example of where we continue to see kind of outside the box of where we can make a positive impact as a brand. Now, recycled plastics in general are a big part of what we're bringing in as we, go beyond what our supply chain currently can deliver in that ocean-bound plastics. And based on the size and the sheer scope of our portfolio, we also then go and we acquire recycled plastics that we can pull into, as you can see here in this particular Elite Chromebook, into our speaker boxes, our keycaps. There's from fans to speakers. You go through, the different components where we can pull in recycled plastics. We continue to push and move towards those recycled goals that Ellen talked about, and we are very much focused on finding those right streams of plastic that will enable this effort that we want to move towards with our goals. Now, recycled metals plays into it as well, from recycled magnesiums to aluminums. As you look at that spectrum of the products, and especially as it plays into EPEAT, one of the criteria in EPEAT is recycled plastics and materials you're bringing into your products. So as we want to push more and more products to EPEAT Gold, it's on us in our supply chain to make sure that we have the ability to bring in those recycled materials so that we can drive towards those efficiencies. Now, one of the other areas we're really focused on, again, tying to those 2030 goals that Ellen talked about, is how do we drive more sustainable packaging into our products, and as we get them to you, how are they products packaging that can be easily recycled with your local operations and your local municipalities. And one of the big shifts for us has been shifting towards outside and inside cushioning all being recyclable fibers. And we're enabling that even more and more through our 3D printing. So we're now taking and building our own molded fiber cushioning through our own technologies with 3D printing, and looking at constantly what are the alternatives that we can drive towards to ensure that all of that packaging is locally processable through community and municipality recycling programs. And this is a big shift for us. One of the big key goals we have, obviously, for you and for your company, is that every product you get is safe and delivered in a way that you're able to open that box up and immediately use it. So there's many considerations that go into these shifts in packaging, from ensuring protection of the product to ensuring that those molded fibers, as they move on containers around the world, and hit humidity levels, aren't compromised. So as you look at those areas, the great thing of HP being an engineering company is we have great minds that continue to take all that into consideration to really move the needle forward with these innovations that we bring, not only in the product, but in how we get it to you in that packaging. Now, as I mentioned, we are the leader in EPEAT registered products. We can see this is just looking at the commercial portfolio, specifically through this lens here of our notebooks and desktops. We continue to be a leader in this space and pushing that envelope. And like I mentioned, we'll dive into a little bit more specifics on what we'll talk about with regards to EPEAT in just a moment. Now, one of the other areas that really enables our view of sustainability within personal systems is driving towards more service-based businesses. And one of the areas that we really look at is what we call our recover and renew services. If you think about the life cycle of a product, Ellen touched on a little bit circular economy. Circular economy for us is a big part of our designing products for sustainability. And for those of you unfamiliar with circular economy in the technology space, it's really kind of moving away from that make, take, and dispose methodology. You get a notebook, you use it, off it goes, hopefully to be recycled. It's going out somewhere. I'm done with it. Well, this idea of it being circular would be, not only have we taken the right considerations, as I've just described, on the materials that go into the product, but that through the use of it, that it can be upgradable, it can be repairable, if you flip over and look at most of your commercial notebooks with HP, one of the things I love if I was in a room with you that I'd have you do is as you flip those over and look, count the number of screws that are available to you to access on the back of that device. Unfortunately, some of our competitors have moved towards lighter, and in doing so have moved towards glues or adhesives that keep those products together. While that may make things potentially lighter, and when that has its own carbon footprint, it also makes it more difficult to be repaired and upgraded locally. So as we look at this view of circular economy, we're looking at that use phase piece and how can you upgrade and repair, but also that end of use phase. So as we talked about, before, after, and during, this after phase is what can we do to help you ensure that you've got the right options at end of life. And as we look at those, that goes into device recovery. And as we look at it through that lens is how are you able to have devices that you've got good life left in. So if your refresh cycle is a 3 to 4 year window or so, there's chances are that that device could be refurbished and potentially redeployed. And you could take part in that with recovering some of the remaining value from that product to help your purchasing and or cash back to your company. But it also puts a good quality enterprise type device into the hands of potentially an SMB business or into a consumer or others who want to purchase a refurbished device. So there's that opportunity as we look at, extending the life cycle of the product, hopefully putting less demand on virgin resources or recycled even resources down the line. We also provide deinstallation services to help with, taking those products offline at your environment and finding ways potentially from parts or others where we can look at some level of redeployment of whole units or parts into, future products. We also provide sanitization services. So as you move through that, how do we ensure that your company's data that you're done so hard to protect during the life and the use of that device is also given the same rigor at end of life services? And we do many different options there from wiping to full desanitization services to ensure that your data is not compromised and your customers' data would never be compromised at end of life. And then in those devices that can't be redeployed, or maybe specifically you want to see them destroyed for one reason or another, we have many different certified recycling services that we make sure are available so that you can extend again, hopefully in that case, the resins, the materials coming out of those products so that they can make their way into supply chains that would be supported in the future. I'm just going to touch on packaging for a moment here and dive into, some of the available things that you can really enable within your companies to have more sustainable packaging options. Specifically, I'm going to talk to bulk packaging. I touched a little bit on, moving to fiber. One of the other things that we really look at is this shift towards bulk packaging. And this is specifically, valuable in an office environment where we're shipping to a single location and your IT is deploying within, your own offices. This could be for notebooks, for monitors, for mini desktops. It provides a way for us, as you can see here on the screen, to really reduce the impact from both the amount of packaging materials that are deployed, from a simplification in shipping to minimizing the waste once it's received at your location, to, as we're hearing more and more, improving that overall customer satisfaction from your IT teams, as well as from your local offices that really tell us, that they would love to see the amount of waste received, in this case, that packaging waste, reduced. As we look at it from a comparison, this just gives you an idea. Similar scenario, 10 units of individually shipped products and bulk packaged. This particular scenario, identically the same delivery of products, but as you can see on the left, one single box, with that fiber packaging and protection within it, where everything's deployed in one easy open case, and then you're ready to go. On the other side, similarly, the right fibers, everything's in there, but you can see much more rigor on the IT deployment side, as well as on just the sheer amount of packaging that would need to go into that to ship and deploy it. So, on average, what we're seeing is as we move towards bulk packaging, a recent customer impact analysis we did saw that 24% less pallets were being needed. We are decreasing, overall weight thus far at about 4% of shipping weight, which obviously has an impact on the carbon footprint and, shipping densities. And as you kind of go through that, it's an overall benefit. What we're hearing from companies like yours is it's taking up 23% less warehouse space, impacting, the amount of labor needed within your warehouses and in your teams to deploy that. And in the end, we're seeing an overall decrease of about 9% of packaging waste. And, those are impacts as we start to look at it from a sustainability perspective that, you can drive those changes with recommending back to your procurement and your IT purchasing to request of us, those opportunities to provide bulk packaging. We don't do it by default. It's there and communicated, and it's an offering that that we can bring to help drive more sustainability into that delivery. Again, just touching on some things when we look at reducing packaging material, overall seeing this for multi-unit packages to the removing of those foams, as we move towards fiber cushioning and that goal of hitting 100% fiber by 2025, we see on average, that much reduction, 3.8 million kilograms of foam that we will save by that complete shift to 100% fiber packaging. And, like I said, it's the right thing to do. We're fully invested in that and making amazing strides, especially within the commercial space. As we transition that into consumer, that will be the next area. And, we continue to see great strides and great feedback from you as customers of the benefits that you see from it. But as I mentioned, I'll just touch on ePeat for just a moment. For those of you, again, not familiar with it, I gave kind of a high level. It was really deployed for our public sector customers about 10 years back now as a purchasing criteria tool to really simplify in the public space the ability to recognize a sustainable product. And really, as it's morphed, it's now fully adopted in private sectors around the world. It had started US, many countries around the world have adopted it, have localized even some of the ePeat criteria to requirements and realities within their own countries. HP continues to really move forward with, ensuring, as you can see here, that we are a leader in this space. As I mentioned, gold is what we strive for. 151 of our commercial products are ePeat Gold certified. Another 176 in silver. We're really pushing that, and you can see that separation we have from our competitors out there as we really strive towards, cementing that claim that we are the world's most sustainable PC and personal systems portfolio. And, one of our big areas there is really being certified in more countries than anyone else. And Dell and HP continue to push back and forth. You can see we're at 19 right now. They're at 18. I love, what Ellen and our VP within sustainability have said. The reality is, as we see this push forward and our competitors move with this, the real winner in this is the planet. And we really want to be seen as, those first movers, really moving this forward in a way that we are leading out, showing how important it is to us within our portfolios, and really setting that example within the personal system space, within the IT industry, that sustainability needs to come first. And we need to really be thinking about how we as brands can make that positive impact as we put products in front of you as customers, enabling you to choose those products that are going to be most sustainable within your environments. So to wrap up here, again, our focus, especially within our personal systems, is driving better behavior in our choices and before use, enabling you for the best impact during use, and providing those solutions for you after use that can either create and move into that circular model, or provide ways that as we recycle those products, that we pull and extract again what we can to enable some form of a circular economy. And I would just leave you with kind of a parting thought. What can you do to act now? Again, I would get, as you influence within your procurement and within your companies, really ask procurement to enable more sustainability-based questions within your RFPs. One of the teams I manage oversees all of the support for RFPs that we have that come in that have some level of sustainability criteria baked into them. 5 years ago, when I started managing that team, the questions were more or less, do you have a sustainable approach? Do you have sustainability metrics and goals? That was pretty much it. Check yes or no and give us a little bit of detail. Today, we see sections that are pages in depth, wanting to know about our human rights treatments, to where are we sourcing materials, to what are our goals and how can we enable you with your goals? We love to see that. We know that we can meet and exceed those requirements, and we encourage you to really ask of your vendors that type of question so that you're driving towards helping move sustainability across our vendors, across all industries, towards more of a purchasing decision, which really will have, I think, some of the fastest impact in making change. And then lastly, if you've got questions, you want to reach out, you can reach out to myself, Ellen, to your account teams as you work with them. You've also at hp.com, we've got an amazing sustainability and compliance help desk that's there to answer questions. If you want to get into some details, there's quick FAQs available, as well as the ability to submit a ticket to our teams that we can dive into more succinct questions to help and support you in any ways that you would need. Then lastly, as we touched on recycling, I really encourage you to look at our recycling programs. They're industry leading, and they're available, whether it's from your personal systems or to your HP original supplies. We've got it covered in all of those different areas. My last slide here, and I'll jump to, I see we've got some chat here and some questions. Sustainability is our legacy. I love this quote from Bill and Dave, that a company that focuses solely on profits ultimately betrays both itself and society. I'm so excited to be a part of a company today where our CEO, Enrique Lores, stands behind that and has cemented sustainability as a key component of all of HP's 2030 vision and goals. It's one of the driving forces of where we are going to be seen as that lighthouse brand in sustainability, and really excited to be a part of it. Excited to see what questions that you guys may have and how we can continue to help each of you as you drive forward with your sustainability vision and goals. So with that, I don't know, Heather, do you want me just to open up and look at the chat here?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much, Ryan. Yeah, we answered some of the questions that have come in the chat right here in the chat, but we'd welcome anybody to come off mute and ask a question live, or if you have a question that you've been holding on to and you want to put that in the chat, we'll have Ryan address that as well. So we'd love to hear your feedback and your questions. So please take the time now if you would. If you want to take a look at the two that are in the chat, Ryan, maybe there's something you'd like to add to that. We try to answer those, but maybe there's something you'd like to add on those while others maybe are thinking about questions that they'd like to ask.
Yeah, I would say, as we look at kind of touch on the digital equity one, as we look at digital equity, I agree with the response there. It's definitely there. Our goals are interconnected. And, as we drive forward with digital equity, specifically, we're really looking for those underserved groups around the world who don't have ready access to the technologies that can really go back to HP's goal. We look at technology enabling a better life for people around the world, right? So as we look at those areas within our vision and goal, it's to find opportunities to really take our strength in technology and connect that to those underserved groups, whether that's through, as Ellen touched on, education opportunities, through HP Life, or through different campaigns and offerings that we make worldwide. We're really focused on really moving that forward and really making as big of an impact as we possibly can through our efforts in these different areas. From a human rights goal and looks like a DEI strategy, let's look in there at the response. Yeah, I mean, again, as we look at our human rights efforts, it starts within the company. What are we doing from enabling and ensuring that everyone has equal access to jobs and opportunities? We've got very bold goals that really look at kind of that inclusive direction that we're pushing towards, and really making strides of leading out in our industry from, from here in the US, from African Americans in executive and other positions to women in technical roles and opportunities. We really see those as opportunities as a technology company where we really can enable those opportunities. And, that extends globally too, into other countries in areas where there may be, human rights issues that prevent or are, I shouldn't say necessarily prevent, but haven't necessarily opened the same doors to everyone. And we continue to look at that as we're a global company in each of those areas. And then the other big piece of it is our supply chain. Our supply chain is made up of over 500,000 people worldwide. How do we ensure that each of them have equal access to jobs and opportunities? Though most of that is through our supply chain and those companies we contract with, it's really working with, enabling, and empowering them to drive our behavior of sustainability and human rights into their behaviors and really have that bold influence. And many of those suppliers share with other companies in our industries, so that we see that impact being very, very big as it goes, much further than just what HP can touch and do. I guess those would be the couple things I would add there to those comments you guys responded to.
So Ryan or Ellen, we have another chat that just came directly to me. On a percentage basis, how much ROBP content is incorporated in the new computer plastic?
So are we by recycled ocean-bound plastic? Is that probably what we're referring to as ROBP?
I think so. Brian, you're the yes, he's saying recycled ocean plastic. Okay. I didn't know that acronym either.
Yeah, I didn't either. I was thinking that through and spelling it out in my head. So yeah, perfect. Yeah, so from an ocean-bound plastic perspective, we continue to ramp up and grow that supply chain. I'm not sure if Ellen will be able to jump off mute if she's got more of a specific amount today. I know she and her team have been really working on driving that. Today, as we look at the products themselves, like give you an example on the Elite Dragonfly, which was our first product that had ocean-bound plastic in it. I'm just looking here at a note here. So we've got 5% of the Elite Dragonfly is ocean-bound plastic, and that's by weight of plastic in that product. Similarly, the Elite now Dragonfly Max is right at that same percentage. So, I know today as we're bringing in more, and to give you an idea, we're driving that amount of post-consumer recycled plastics into it. So the bezel of that Elite Dragonfly is made up of 45% of of recycled plastic, of which 5% of that is ocean bound. So we're continuing to drive more and more of those. I won't say the issue, but our first leading thing is really firmly getting the supply chains globally in place that can drive the volumes that we want to bring into it. And so you'll see continually increasing amounts of ocean-bound plastic across our portfolio, especially as that supply chain can meet the demands that we have of plastic that go into products.
Super. Are there any other questions? Feel free to come off mute if you'd like and ask a question live or to the chat. All right, well, if there aren't any other questions, I do want to take a moment to thank Ryan and Ellen for being here with us today. We will, just in a moment here, provide a short survey for you to fill out. We'd very much value your feedback on this session and the interaction, so please do share with us so that we can understand your feedback. In addition to that, thank you so much for being here with us. If you have follow-up questions that you think about afterwards, feel free to reach out to your account manager. They'd be happy to connect you back in with Ryan or Ellen to have a further discussion or to answer any other additional questions that you may have. We will have a replay available if you need to watch it or if somebody else in your organization missed the call. So thank you so much for being here with us today. Really appreciate your participation and your commitment to sustainability. So thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.